Hi, everybody, and welcome to our first installment of our new seminar series here on the EBI. Today, we're going to be focusing on the first introduction to grad school. And in this series, we're going to focus on interviewing grad students associated with the EBI, and they're going to tell us their stories from applying to grad school, from choosing the right grad school, from their curriculum, and more. Today, I'm joined by Alexa Zytnick, and she is a fifth year grad student here at UC Berkeley pursuing a PhD in plant and microbial biology. Alexa currently works in a lab where she focuses on microbial recycling of electronic waste. Hi, Alexa. How are you doing today?
Hi, good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. So, today we're going to be talking about the decision process when you're looking at potential grad schools to apply to. So, our first question: what was your particular reason for going to grad school?
Yeah, ever since I took chemistry my sophomore year of high school, I just really liked science. And of course, everyone asks you, "Oh, do you want to be a medical doctor?" And I knew I didn't want to do that because I'm squeamish around blood and all of that kind of stuff. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do with it. I just knew that I liked it. And then if you don't want to be a medical doctor, then kind of the default is, oh, you want to do research. And I kept saying that without really believing it. And I took a year and I did a research year in a lab that I worked in as an undergrad, but full time after I graduated. And that's kind of when I was really like, okay, the research thing is for me and I'm going to go to grad school.
Now that you're here in grad school, would you say that that's a pretty common reason now that you've met other people and such?
I think a lot of people come into it, just for the love of science. You kind of have to. It's a very grueling experience. But a lot of people also, have that coupled to if they want to go into industry, there are certain levels of the corporate ladder that you can't get to without a PhD. So that's some reasons that I've also heard from my peers.
So you ended up at UC Berkeley, but when you were applying, what particularly drew you to UC Berkeley?
Yeah. What's great about grad school interviews is usually this was pre-pandemic, and I think we're going back to that now where they fly you out and you get to do all these interviews in all these different cities. So I saw a lot of different places, and Berkeley really had a focus on, I guess, community and really like immersing yourself in the Bay Area that I got from that weekend. Like we had the option to go on a hike, or go explore San Francisco or do a whole food tour, which is something that other programs didn't really do. You really just stayed on campus the whole weekend and did your interviews. So I really like that, from like a more social experience of like, oh, I'm gonna uproot my life. So I'm better uproot it to a place that's fun to be in for the next 5 to 6 years. And the science, of course, but
Now that you're a student here, do you think that the school has met your needs or like these expectations that you had for it in terms of community, science, etc.?
yeah, I mean, I'll be graduating in the spring, so I feel like I've completed most of my PhD, and I'd say that it did kind of live up to my expectations. I mean, the Bay Area is a really beautiful place to live, just like I thought it would be. And PMB has a really great community of faculty and grad students and postdocs who all really work together and want to see each other succeed, which was really important to me.
So, because you're a plant and microbial biology major or you're pursuing this field, did you originally only apply to plant and microbial biology majors, or was there more than it to than that?
Fun question. My undergrad major was chemical biology, so how is chemistry used at like the biological interface? And I started off really as a chemistry major, so I was really interested in the chemistry part, and I got interested in microbes and microbiology because there was a postdoc in the lab that I was working in who was a microbiologist, and trying to bring that into a chemistry lab. And so I knew I kind of wanted to do microbiology related stuff. Um, but microbiology wasn't even a major at my undergrad, so I had no experience with it. So I applied to plant and microbial biology programs, just microbiology programs, chemistry programs, bioengineering programs, everything that could potentially fit what I wanted to do.
going back to the applications itself, how wide did you cast your net? Like, how many grad schools were you looking at? I know you said you traveled to a lot of them. What were some of the considerations you were looking at when you were thinking about how many grad schools you were gonna apply to?
Yeah, I mean, cost is a huge factor. I mean, you have to pay for these applications, but there are things called fee waivers. So if you just reach out to like some of the admin at these departments, they might give you a fee waiver. Or you might write a little essay about why you should get a fee waiver. So when I say I applied to 11 programs, I didn't pay for 11 programs. I got fee waivers for most of them. But so I applied to 11 programs at 10 schools or institutions. Um, and they were from all over the country. I am from Pennsylvania, and I did my undergrad in Tennessee. And I applied everywhere: East Coast, the South, West Coast. I almost didn't apply to the West Coast because I'd never been to California. I thought that it was too far away. But my advisor at the time was like, you have to apply to California. They're the best schools. So you might as well just apply, go on the interview, and then make up your mind, but don't, not apply.
Okay, yeah, in that realm, that's good advice. Do you have any more advice for prospective students looking around at grad schools or like when they're choosing to go to grad school, where they're choosing to go to grad school?
Yeah. When you apply, usually you'll mention a few faculty that you're interested in working with in your application. And you should definitely only apply to places where you're interested in three or more faculty members, because there are situations in which faculty don't have funding for a grad student, or you might not be a good fit for the lab, or you don't like the lab. So it's good to have options. But there are also some programs where it's direct admit. So you only apply for one lab, and when you get admitted, you work in that lab. And for those sorts of situations, I would say really it's very important to like suss out whether you and the advisor are a good fit and you and the people in the lab are a good fit. So that's my advice.
How would you go about like sussing them out? How like what does that part of the research look like?
I mean, most of it is on site, right? Like you'll have an interview and you should talk to your advisor and see if they're, or your potential advisor, and see if they're more hands-on or more hands-off. If you want someone who isn't really micromanaging you, you can just ask them, like, do you have weekly meetings with your students? Do you expect weekly updates, monthly updates? How often will I be meeting with you? I think is an important thing to know. Um, and as far as the lab members, usually, like, you can go out to lunch with them and without the advisor, and they'll be very honest about their boss. And then also just by getting, a meal with them, you kind of understand whether or not you're a good social fit. You can ask them, is it more like a workplace environment where we all work 9 to 5 and don't talk to each other after that, don't see each other on the weekends, or is it more of like a friendly environment where we do happy hours and go on hikes on the weekend and that kind of stuff?
Okay, yeah, that's all really good advice. Thank you. That does it for all of our questions, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for kind of expanding on this very abstract idea of applying to grad school and looking for the right one. Myself and everyone at the ABI wish you the best of luck in your last year, your last semesters, and we thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me.
Thank you for checking out the EBI seminar series on graduate students and their experiences. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to our channel for more content on graduate programs. Be sure to follow along for future installments or check out our previous series and explore our social media, which are all linked in the description below. Thank you for watching and see you next time.